Ladies and gentlemen, this evening, Nottingham City Council is proud to present an evening with a living legend. A pugilist who pulls no punches in and out of the ring, a fighter who is fearless and frank, a boxer who can bring debate and drama. Tonight, the Royal Concert Hall in Nottingham is ready to rumble. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the four-time super-middleweight champion of the world, Carl the Cobra Froch!
Singing, we will rock you. We will rock you. Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shining in the street, you're gonna take on the world.
Welcome. Yeah, what about that?
Unbelievable.
How good is that?
It's fantastic. Fantastic.
It's your night, enjoy it.
We're in Nottingham, what did you expect?
Absolutely. The Cobra. We're going to talk a little bit later on. You grab a seat, be comfortable.
Sit down, yeah?
Grab a pew. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Darren Fletcher, and we welcome you to the Royal Concert Hall here in Nottingham. We're delighted that so many of you have come along to join us tonight for this very special and unique event promoted by Nottingham City Council as we celebrate and honour a true Nottingham sporting giant, that man there, Carl the Cobra Froch. Okay, so let's begin. And what a fantastic show we've got for you tonight. Later on, we're going to be talking to Carl about his life, his amazing achievements with contributions from some very special guests who are here for him tonight. Then it's your chance to post some questions directly to Carl via Twitter, and you'll be using the hashtag FreemanFroch, because by then he'll be a Freeman of the city, or you can SMS 81400. Your involvement tonight will be fantastic. First, though, we're going to witness a completely unique spectacle, as in the traditional manner, Carl Froch is made an Honorary Freeman of the City of Nottingham. Now, usually this kind of ceremony takes place in the chamber at Nottingham's Council House in the Old Market Square. But we know Carl wants to share his special evening with you, so we are here tonight. The fans and the supporters who have backed him all the way get the opportunity to share it with him, and that's going to make it even more special for him tonight. So that's why tonight we're here in front of more than 2,000 people at the Royal Concert Hall and many thousands more around the world who are watching this event, which is being streamed live. It's perhaps the largest public meeting in Nottingham's history, and it means we can all be part of this proud moment for Carl and, of course, his family as well, who are here tonight too. So let me briefly explain a little bit about the tradition of the Honorary Freeman of Nottingham and what you're about to see.
Honorary Freeman of the City is the highest honour the Council can bestow and is only given to a person of distinction or who has rendered eminent service to the city. The concept of Freeman originates from Saxon times, and over the years certain privileges have become associated with the role. You might have heard of the tradition of the Freeman's right to drive sheep over Trent Bridge. Now, the modern-day Honorary Freeman of the City carries no specific rights and privileges. Sorry, Carl. But it is about recognising and celebrating an individual's outstanding contribution to the city. And Carl will join an elite list of men and women who have been given the honour since Nottingham became a city in 1897. These include William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, and Sir Jessie Boot, who transformed a small herbal store into a pharmaceutical giant, and sporting heroes whose images everyone in Nottingham will be only too familiar with. And next, Carl Froch.
So after tonight, Carl has the opportunity to drive sheep across Trent Bridge. It would have taken a brave man to stop him in the first place, but at least he can do it officially from tonight. So to the ceremony itself. Ladies and gentlemen, you will shortly witness the entry to the stage of the Lord Mayor of Nottingham, who, along with his fellow councillors, will take part in the official and traditional Freeman of the City ceremony. The Lord Mayor will call upon his councillors, who are seated over there and over there, to formally agree to bestow this great honour upon Carl. The council leader, John Collins, will then say a few words, which will be followed by a vote of the councillors, and we hope that vote goes Carl's way. Now, following this, Carl will be asked to sign the official roll of Honorary Freeman, which includes some of Nottingham's greatest: William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, Sir Jesse Boot, and the Nottingham sporting heroes that we've just seen. Now, this bit is also a legal requirement, so if you've never seen a council meeting before, this is basically a greatest hits version. It doesn't last too long, but please respect the next 10 minutes for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Lord Mayor of Nottingham and the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Are there any apologies from councillors that have not already been reported to me? I'll look around. No. They're now noted. Thank you. We'll now move on to declaration of interest. Does any councillor or officer wish to declare an interest in tonight's business? I've had none reported, so we'll move on. Thank you. We'll move on to the mission of Carl Froch as an Honorary Freeman of the City. Councillor Collins, will you propose the motion?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just goes to show what an arcane set of traditions we have in the City Council. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as leader of Nottingham City Council, I'd like to add my welcome to you all here today to the Royal Concert Hall for today's special event. It is great to see so many people here, and this is actually probably the best attended council meeting we've ever held in Nottingham. I'm going to be brief. Freedom of the city is the greatest honour the council can give to one of its citizens. It's rarely offered, and only in recognition of outstanding achievement. Indeed, since 1905, Freedom of the City has been awarded just 39 times, and of these, only 5 have been to sportsmen or women, including Everest mountaineer Doug Scott, and as you've already heard, Torvill Dean and Brian Clough. In adding Carl's name to that list, we're recognising his achievements not just as a boxer, but as an ambassador for Nottingham and as a role model for young people. We all know, and we've seen, of Carl's achievements in the ring. 4-time Super-Middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion, having defeated Mikhail Kessler in May 2013, and as a boxer, the boxer that finally silenced George Groves. However, Carl's determination to promote his connection with Nottingham throughout his boxing career has helped put Nottingham on the map in the same way as test matches at Trent Bridge and Forest's triumph in the European Cup. And his encouragement for young people to be active in sport and boxing in particular, and his support for campaigns against gang and gun violence and against domestic violence has won him respect across the city as a mentor and role model. So traditionally, Freedom of the City has only been offered to sports personalities once their career has come to a close. Carl is the first sports man or woman in Nottingham to have been recognised during his sporting career, as well as the first to be offered this recognition in this venue and in front of so many of his fans. So at this point, it's my job to formally propose that Carl Froch be awarded Nottingham's highest honour and the freedom of this great city, and I'm proud to have the opportunity to do just that.
Thank you. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. I'm pleased to declare that Carl Froch has been admitted as an Honorary Freeman of the City of Nottingham.
Carl, if you'd like to sign the official roll of Honorary Freeman. Nottingham's City Council's leader will now present Carl with the traditional silver casket and official scroll. Carl, would you like to join me and say a few words to everybody?
Right. They've told me I've got to say a few words at about 3:30 this afternoon. And I started putting pen to paper, and I got through about 7 sheets of A4, and I thought, I can't read this lot. But basically, for me to talk about Nottingham and talk about my career and what Nottingham means to me, I could stand here all night, I really could. And we've got an hour with Darren Fletcher to talk about that. So I'll just cut to the chase. The crowd that's here tonight, the noise you make, the true Nottingham fans. There's a lot of Nottingham Forest fans as well in Nottingham because it's such a big club. There you go. It's this sort of crowd that's driven me to win and become a world champion. Because without that kind of determination and grit and desire and passion, sometimes it feels impossible, you know. So I want to thank my fans for that. 2 main fights that stand out in my career are the fights with Jean Pascal, 2008, December, my first world title. That was in Nottingham. And the second fight that stands out in a 35-fight, unbelievable career that spans over a decade, believe it or not, was also in Nottingham, and that was Lucian Bute. So that's 2 fights in an unbelievable career that both mean the most to me have happened in Nottingham. And that's not by chance. That's by the fact that the crowd are behind me when I need them. Especially the second fight. The second fight I'm talking about with Lucian Bute, I was coming off the back of a loss to Andre Ward in the Super 6 tournament, a tournament where the best of the best in my weight division all fought each other. And that tournament very much slipped under the radar in terms of people getting behind it and seeing it. It wasn't aired on the right channels. But after losing in the final to Andre Ward, I came back and I joined forces with my new promoter now, Eddie Hearn, who's done a fantastic job. So thanks to him as well. Well, he got me the Bute fight, and many people thought I was going to lose that fight. They thought, can Carl Froch come off the back of a loss to Andre Ward and come back and fight this unbeaten Canadian? 30 fights, 30 wins, 26 knockouts. I think Carl Froch is getting beat. And there's a lot of people at Sky TV as well that I heard, you know what, he's going to lose this, but he's had a good career. And at times I even thought to myself, you know what, this might be a step too far. But when I stood behind the dark doors of the Nottingham Arena before they opened, before I was exposed to the masses of crowd, I tell you what, when that crowd hit me, the energy that went through my body, I can't even explain. It was the Nottingham passion that drove me to winning that title. So I want to thank the fans for that. It was unbelievable. And if I fast forward from that up until fighting George Groves once, then twice, defending at a national stadium in front of 80,000, 90,000, I mean, it's gone from strength to strength from that fight in Nottingham. And that brings me here today to become an honoured Freeman of the city. And, you know, to put my name up against the likes of Torval and Dean and Sir Paul Smith, I'm wearing this clobber tonight. It's not an accident, this, why I look so good. And, you know, dare I even mention the late legend, Brian Clough. It's just... for my name to be mentioned alongside them people, especially Brian Clough, it's just so humbling, and I have to pinch myself sometimes to believe it. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I want to thank the Nottingham City Council, because they really have gone above and beyond the call of duty tonight for this event. This has never been done. The turnout's fantastic, so thanks to the council, because it's a fantastic event, it really is. It's one that will be looked back on in years. And most importantly, from the bottom of my heart, deep down, my fans. It's my fans that mean absolutely everything to me. And without my fans, I really wouldn't be where I am today. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Shall we have a wander up here and tell a few stories? We may as well, haven't we?
Why not?
Grab a seat.
Being as we're here.
Yeah, for the next hour or so, we're going to talk about Carl's career. We're going to find out a little bit more about him. And don't forget that you can be involved tonight as well. Hashtag Freeman Froch, or you can text 81400, and during the course of the night, we will put some of those questions on the big screen, and Carl is only too happy to answer them. So if I say to you, Carl Froch, Freeman of the City of Nottingham, how long is that going to take to sink in?
It's going to take a long time to sink in. I mean, initially people like to crack a joke about being able to walk your sheep over Trent Bridge, and I think that is an old tradition. I'm hearing tonight that ceremony does take place, and I think the next one's in a couple of years, so that'll be interesting. So watch this space. I will be there. But I think just to have my name upside, you know, I'm not going to name all the names. I mean, there's not that many to go through, but Sir Paul Smith and, you know, for me, the late Brian Clough, and there's fans here acknowledging Brian Clough because what he'd done for Nottingham Forest, what he'd done for every club he worked for. That man there, to have my name mentioned up with him, it's just unbelievable. And I do have to pinch myself sometimes and say, is this actually happening? I mean, it's been a long, hard road to becoming a four-time champion of the world, and I've been involved in some unbelievable back-to-back world championship fights. But for my city, my council, to acknowledge me for my achievements, the accolade, I'm just gonna take all the pats on the back, and I'm going to take the accolade smiling, because, you know, it's fantastic. I've worked hard to get to this point, but for them to acknowledge it for me, it's so proud and so humbling, it really is.
We're going to try and do this over 12 rounds. That's what we're going to try tonight. We've got a bit of video thrown in as well. So let's kick it off. Seconds out, round one.
Right, okay.
So let's start, Carl, with Nottingham. It's home, it's where you come from, it's where your family is. It's also where you live and train.
Raise your shot, boom, 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 and then move.
Put one there. Oh, that's enough. Put one there. Oh, top of my head. Thank you.
Rocco hit you harder than George Groves.
In the second fight, but the first fight, I'm sure I touched the canvas for a couple of seconds.
Just talk to me about the Phoenix, Carl, because I'm reading your book at the moment, which has just come out. It's available in all good bookshops. I get it if you're a Cobra fan. But you talk a lot about your formative years and just what that club meant to you, Dominic Travers, etc., when you were there. It's still got a really special place in your heart, and it's something that you always look back on.
It has, yeah. I mean, you said there that I train in Nottingham, and I do. I train as much as I can in Nottingham. I'm actually based up in Sheffield when I train, because my coach, Rob McCracken, trains the Olympians, and we train at the English Institute of Sport up in Sheffield. But at the start of my camp, I trained at the Phoenix Amateur Boxing Club, which is where it's the first boxing gym I ever walked into at the age of, I think I was 9 years old. I wasn't old enough to compete, but that's where I'm from. And my coach, Dale McPhilbin, who's here tonight, he took me from a rough young school lad, you know, a schoolboy who really was just going down there just to play at the game, to somebody who knew how to fight and knew how to defend myself. And, you know, we say fighting, we say boxing, and it sounds like a brutal sport, and at times it can look brutal, but a coach's job is to teach you to throw a punch, land a shot that scores in the scoring area, the head or the body above the waist, and don't get hit back. So hit your opponent and don't get hit. And that is actually a really, really hard skill. The art of pugilism, it's a fine art. You want to try, I mean, you're in the ring tonight with me. I don't know if you feel like going a few rounds, but it's quite difficult. It's nice, actually, to be able to sit in a boxing ring and not have to exchange any blood, sweat or tears. But no, Dale McPhilbin showed me the ropes, and he took me to schoolboy level and then up to becoming a national champion. And that all happened at the Phoenix. And, you know, I can go down the Phoenix when I want and use that gym to train and get myself ready for fight camp. I sort of have a pre-camp there, and I see Dale now still, and he still takes me on the pads, and his love for the sport and his involvement in the sport is still very big. In fact, he's just got himself a bit of a job on the England squad, which I'll just find out tonight. So, a round of applause for Dale McPhilbin, please. But that's all Nottingham. Phoenix Boxing Club in Nottingham, and that's where it all began.
I know you mentioned there we could go a few rounds. I won't last 20 seconds in here for you. There might about a few rounds. We've got the first question that's come through on Twitter as well, which we can have a look at. There it is, Carl. How have your training camps changed over the years? You've got the little black book, haven't you, where you put all of your times in and your distances, etc. So you always know exactly where you are.
I do, yeah. I think the interesting answer to that question is they've not changed that much. Since I've been a professional, I've always done, early on in my career, I've done 6 to 8 weeks because I was boxing more regular. But since becoming world champion, you probably get 2 fights out of me a year. So I have the best part of a 4-month camp. I do a 2-week pre-camp, then I do 12 weeks in the gym. And most of the training I do, most of the work I do, it's been the same for the last 10 years. The targets and the times I was hitting on my runs, the amount of press-ups and sit-ups I do, the amount of rounds I spar, it's all pretty much been the same for my whole career, believe it or not. Early on in my career, I wasn't doing as much because I was becoming a seasoned professional and getting my body into the shape so I could go 12 rounds. Because I didn't turn pro in 2002 and then I could straight away do 12 rounds. So it's been a 4 or 5 year development progress. And then as soon as I became British champion in 2005, I think it was, my camps have been the same. Same amount of hard work, blood, sweat, tears, dedication, commitment, long runs, long gym sessions, a lot of strength and conditioning work. I don't do any weights. It's all body weight stuff. So press-ups, pull-ups, dips, and you know, stuff you can do, sit-ups, stuff you can do without any equipment. It's quite a primitive sport, and that's why a lot of people from working class can get into the sport, because you don't need much. You might need a skipping rope, and you just borrow a pair of old, sweaty, smelly gloves in the gym. And when you walk in the Phoenix Boxing Club, that place has smelt the same for over 25 years. And believe it or not, I love the smell. It's like an old friend.
Fantastic. Great insight. Let's move it on to round 2. So, before the fight, you're in the dressing room, the walk to the ring. I just wonder what it's like those final few minutes before the fight. See, I think this is one of the most remarkable aspects of a professional fighter, and that is that you know you're going to make that walk, and then when you get in there, there's a fair chance that you're going to get 7 bells knocked out of you. You're going to get punched on the nose a few times, yet you always seem in complete control. I've seen the footage in the dressing room that we see on Sky. Wayne Rooney pops his head in, David Hayes in there, Eddie's in there, you're laughing and joking with your brothers or whatever the case is. What's it really like? I mean, is the heart going 10 to the dozen or the butterflies in the stomach? What's that focus like? What's it like pre-fight?
You know, I probably need an hour to explain and go right into depth of it, but to cut that short and you know, truncate it down to size for tonight's, you know, benefit. There's an old saying I like to stand by, and that's cometh the hour, cometh the man. And it's that last hour before you fight that you can fall apart. I've done it in the amateur game. You know, you talk yourself out of it. You're not good enough, you're not fit enough, you're not strong enough. And all these demons come in. I'm a human being, I get nervous. And I think the success I've had over the years, you know, success breeds confidence. And at the stage I'm at now, and I've not been there, I've been probably there for the last 5 years, this is becoming a world champion. You just believe in yourself. You know that as long as you've put the preparation in and you've done the hard work and you've trained and you've cut no corners and you've left no stone unturned, you know you're ready. You know you're good enough. You know you're fit enough, fast enough, strong enough. You also know the guy in front of you is probably just as fit, just as strong, just as fast. But you've got to have that mental self-belief, and the belief comes from the success and the confidence. And, you know, I had to do a lot of things slightly different. I mean, you touched on my book. I touched on it in the book, and it's a whole chapter on the preparation and the build-up to the George Groves 2 fight and how different that was to the first fight, because I wasn't mentally switched on, wasn't focused. But to answer your question, that last couple of minutes or that last half an hour before you do the ring walk, you've got to have balls of steel. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to be confident. You've just got to go out there and just relax and enjoy yourself. As hard as that sounds, that's what you've got to do. And
do you like having the people around you? You know, your brothers in there, whether it be Lee or Wayne, your friends in there, whether it's Eddie popping in, celebrities who might be at the fight that might want to say hello. Do you like that?
I do. It's a very masculine environment. I never see my partner, Rachel. She means so much to me. My mum, she's at every single fight. I love her dearly. She's never in the changing room before my fight, because when I see my mum and when I see Rachel, I want to give them a hug. And I don't want to be that soft car. I want to be that guy that's been, you know, angry and hungry for the last 12 weeks. And I want to remain that until after the fight's done, until I've done my job. So having my brothers in the changing room definitely helps me, but it's all down to me and my coach, Ron McCracken, and just fine-tuning the last bits, just believing and sharpening tools, ready for that first bell.
I read about that. I mean, we're talking about the book a lot. You should sell it for you after tonight. There was a line in there that you said that when you fought Mikhail Kessler for the first time, you actually let your guard down, that when Rachel got out there, you gave her a hug, and it might just subconsciously have just taken that edge off. Was that a big lesson that you learned that night?
Yeah, definitely. It happened to me when I boxed Andre Ward as well, because I was in America for the best part of 2.5 months, getting on for 3 months on my own. And then I saw Rachel and my mum, you know, the day before the fight, the weigh-in, and it was near Christmas, that fight. And I was thinking, oh, in a couple of weeks I'm going to be at home, you know, with my family. It's going to be Christmas. I've got my boy Rocco waiting for me. And it's just, you know, it was just, I just wanted to go. I didn't want to be in the ring. I didn't want to be fighting. And them thoughts are negative. You don't want to be having them thoughts. You just want to be concentrating on the job you've got to do. You've still got to be the angry guy that's had a 12-week camp and do the business. So, yeah, I do I'm not superstitious, but I don't like to see Rachel or my mum, or any girls for that matter, before getting in the ring, before the changing rooms. I ban the ring card girls, because they can be a distraction as well.
You talked a little bit about the John Pascal fight, which was the first defining fight for you. The next one, and this is going to be round 3, was when you went toe-to-toe with Mikhail Kessler.
Just a little bit
finish there, but he got there with that left hand, didn't he? Right across his eye, just covered up for a moment. What a tremendous fight again.
And these punches have a far bigger effect than they had earlier in the fight. There was another huge right hand from Froch. Terrific last round. What a finish at Fletcher's.
It's grandstand action. This inside the last half a minute, and they're still at it. These two. It is a shootout now. Fabulous action. Froch planning a big punches. Kessler's here in the closing seconds of the contest.
I thought the referee was stepping in there. He looked as though he was stepping in. Froch was, Creswell was all over the place there. Huge finish for Froch.
You could hardly hear the bell at the end of that.
This fighting part of the United Kingdom. Super-Middleweight champion of the world.
I don't think we'll ever forget that night. I mean, you were mouthing the word redemption when you got the belt and you got the decision. Was that as hard as it looked on there? I mean, that's two warriors toe-to-toe who left everything in the ring that night.
That fight puts me off boxing. I don't want to fight again when I watch that. I've shared the ring with that man there, who can I say I've got so much respect for. He's a man who reminds me of myself.
He's your friend as well, isn't he?
My friend, he is, yeah. I could ring him up and have a chat to him for 2 hours. We can talk about numerous subjects. But this is a guy who's just dedicated, he's fit, he's strong, he's a family man now. He's got his partner and his newborn child. His child's getting on for a year old now. And he's tough and strong, he punches hard, he can take a punch, he means business. And I know we're friends now and before the fights, before both fights actually, especially the second one. But going in there, we leave it all in the ring. You know, we're in there to do a job. So there's respect before the fight and respect after the fight, but not during the fight. And it's hard for people to quite kind of sum that up. But Mikel Kessler is such a tough, strong, hardened warrior like myself. I can't say anything other than give him praise and accolades. And we've shared the ring for, we've boxed twice, 12 rounds, 2 times. So we've actually had, when you sum it up, over an hour and 10 minutes of fighting together. And most fights, when, if you're having a roll around on the cobbles, or if you're having a fight at school, they last 10, 15 seconds. I'm talking about an hour and 10 minutes of me and him actually fighting against each other, punching each other hard and often. And, he won the first fight, I won the second fight, and it meant so much to me because, that was the first fight back on Sky TV and at the box office level, and I wanted to impress, I wanted to do my job in style, please the fans. It was at the O2, the biggest venue I've ever boxed in front of up until that point, and, that's one of the many fights that really does put a smile on my face and make me feel proud to be a boxer.
Oh, we've got a question which has come in. Don't forget you can get involved tonight, hashtag Freeman Froch, or you can text 81400. Congrats, Carl. How have you got such a granite chin? Well, it's a good question, that.
People say that's something you can't train, and you can't. You cannot put muscle around your jaw. You can either take a punch or you can't. I won't start chucking in names who can't take a punch, but they get hit on the chin. I mean,
I think one springs to most people's mind.
And you get hit on the chin like that, and you're flattened, and it's curtains. It's fight over. And if you look at Mikel Kessler, I hit him with my best shot. On more than one occasion, I probably landed with my best shot, not more than 10 times, but 6 or 7 fights, 6 or 7 times I probably landed my best shot on Kessler's chin. And he didn't lie on his back with his ankle behind his ear roll. What he did was, he smiled at me, and he said, "No, you don't," and he gave me one back, because that's the world-class level, that's the kind of tough man he is. And, yeah, Mikel Kessler, he's got a special place in my heart, he really has.
Fantastic. So let's move it on. We've got to mention George Groves. Let's do it now. George Groves.
Groves is in control.
I think the post-match quote was, even Stevie Wonder could see that should have been a stoppage. And when you see it like that, there really is no doubt. But I want to take you back slightly earlier. I mean, I sat and did the commentary on your fight with Jean Pascal, and my summariser that night was George Groves. And he was completely complimentary. And where the animosity came from, what do you think started what really was bitter rivalry before that first fight?
I think it was difficult for him to not be complimentary because he just watched me fight Butte, and it was a demolition job. It was a 5-round demolition of a guy who's never been beaten. Did you say he was working for Radio?
He was, yeah.
Radio 5 at the time. So,
but he seemed to think off the back of that he'd seen some reason why he could beat you,
no,
which,
exactly.
having been sat next to him, I couldn't see it.
No, apparently he went home that night and sort of mithered his coach and trainer and manager at the time, Adam Booth, to get the fight with me because he was convinced he could beat me. And, you know, fair play to him, he's full of confidence. And you done me a favour there on that clip. Whoever edited that clip up there, they didn't show me getting knocked down in round 1, because that was the first fight, and I got decked in round 1. Everyone knows what happened in that fight. I got decked in round 1, and that was the finish.
We actually showed that before you came out. We
did
didn't want to do it while you were here, so they've all seen it. You talk about the knockdown. When you've got to pick yourself up from that, how hard is that? Because, I mean, that was a big shot, wasn't it?
It's difficult because, you know, I've only ever been down once in my whole career, and that was Jermaine Taylor, and I made a mistake. I got caught. And I was okay. It was a flash knockdown. It was a balance thing as much as it was a very, very good shot on the chin. You know, I was temporarily rendered unconscious, and I woke up. You've seen what happens when people don't wake up in time. The fight's over. I got up, pulled myself together. I looked over at my coach. He gave me a little nod, and away I went. I got back boxing behind my back foot, and the fitness got me through that. And then I stopped him something like 14 seconds of the last round. So that was an unbelievable fight and unbelievable memories. I've lost your question now, but
the George Groves knockdown, because I mean that was different, wasn't it?
That was different because it was so much harder. In the Jermaine Taylor fight, which I'm talking about, I was fit, I was ready, I was prepared, I trained properly. I was a little bit unprofessional in the first Groves fight because I couldn't take him serious. After the Kessler rematch, which you saw there a second ago, before the Groves clip, that was such a big fight for me. It meant so much, and I took it so hard. You know, took it so seriously and trained so hard. To get up then for the Groves fight, and I used Groves for sparring, and I decked him in sparring a couple of times, and, you know, everybody's telling me this is an easy fight, why are you fighting him? You know, you're going to wipe the floor of him. As soon as you hit him, he's going to go. So, you know, I'm a human being, and human nature tells you, you know what, maybe I don't need to get up at 6:30 and do this run. Maybe I can just nip on the treadmill upstairs and do a bit of the local gym. If it's raining, I'm going to stay in. And I cut a few corners, I cheated myself, and I almost paid dearly. You know, it was my own guts and courage that got me through that fight. After that knockdown, to climb up off the canvas and then fight on for 7, 8 rounds, I think it was 7 rounds, and forced a stoppage in that round. And the fight did need stopping, but it was probably a couple of seconds too early. If the referee, Howard Foster, would have let the fight go for a couple of seconds, I think everybody knows what was going to happen. George Groves was out on his feet. So the ref made the right decision, but it was controversial. And it was that controversy that built up the biggest fight in British boxing history. Without all of that, the rematch would have never happened. You know, there was a bit of clever promotion done by Eddie Hearn. George Groves played his fair part in promotion because he genuinely believed that he beat me and he could beat me again. So all that just made for a fantastic rematch and a fantastic second fight, which I then took seriously. And as far as I was concerned, there was nobody going to stop me.
Okay, let's have a chat about that second fight. There was a fair bit of animosity in the build-up as well.
Don't call me boy, I'm 11 years older than you, have some respect.
You really didn't like him, did you, by then?
He really didn't like me, actually, and I couldn't quite work out why. And he was being so disrespectful and obnoxious on the build-up. I just thought, I can't get my head around this. And that's what affected me in the first fight. That's what made me fight so badly. You'd think that would get you up and get you motivated, but it had the opposite effect. I couldn't be bothered with it. I just thought, have I really got to fight this guy? You know, he's got no respect for me, and it wound me up. But I got it right in the rematch. That's what was important.
Yeah, so let's have a look at that one. Let's move on to Wembley Stadium. Froch Groves 2.
Froch is just a little bit too predictable at the moment. You know, he's just marching forward. I think that, as I say, signs of frustration. He's walking on at punches.
And you can see the confidence falling from Groves now. The longer this is going on, the success is coming. But Froch And still, the unified IBF WBA Super-Middleweight Champion of the World, Carl the Cobra.
I think Michael Buffer enjoyed that as well because he just let the Froch go on for a little bit longer than normal. Before we talk about the fight itself, we've got a question that's come in, and it's this. It will be this. There it is. What did it feel like when you entered Wembley Stadium with 90,000 people? I was there that night. It was astonishing. A lot of these people were too. It was amazing.
You know what? I only realised the magnitude of that event when I watched it back. When I went home and pressed play and watched it, and I thought, wow, that was some event. That was an unbelievable entrance. I mean, I kept it old school. I just walked to the ring. I didn't come in on a double-decker bus. I didn't try and...
Bit of AC/DC, wasn't it, on the way in to get you going?
I didn't try and give it large. I came out to Queen, Freddie Mercury, then AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill, and a bit of rock always gets the crowd going. But I was so focused and so determined, and, you know, I just needed to win that fight. I needed to go in there and not worry about how big it was and what the crowd was doing and who was my opponent as well. I ignored George Groves. As far as I was concerned, I couldn't be fighting anybody. I was fighting somebody with 2 arms and 2 legs. They was going to be trying to hit me in the face with punches, and I wasn't going to let that happen. So I was so focused, I forgot what was happening. I'd never soaked in the atmosphere, which is a shame in one way, but I wouldn't have got the result I got if I didn't focus so much.
You came for a quick look, didn't you? Because when you arrived at the arena, I was already in my seat, as were everybody else, watching a fantastic undercard as well. And you popped up on the big screen, and you just came to the back of the arena, didn't you, and had a quick look out. I remember your mouthing at that point, wow. You know, exactly. I don't think you could believe it until you actually saw it.
There was probably 10,000, 15,000 there to watch Anthony Joshua,
yeah.
who is, you know, the Olympic gold medalist heavyweight, great fighter. There was watching him, and even the 10,000, 15,000 people that was there in the 80,000 stadium was making enough noise, and there was, you know, the noise was different because it wasn't bouncing off the ceiling of an arena. It was disappearing into the air like a modern-day Coliseum, you know, and for me it was the gladiatorial. And me and my best friend Adam, we had a little chat, and he said, this is you, this is the modern-day Coliseum. This is your arena, this is your, you know, this is your stadium, this is your night. And from that point I was just smiling. So when I came and stuck my head out, I was so happy and relaxed because I knew I'd done all the work again, back to the preparation. The preparation was done. It was time for me to now enjoy it and soak up my moment.
So when you pull the fist back and you land one of those, is it like when you stood over a golf ball and you hit the perfect shot, you don't actually feel it through the club? Was that a case of you land a shot like that, I mean, he's got the leg tucked underneath the other one, the arms are all over the place. What does it feel like when you land one of those, and what went through your mind at that moment when you thought, not only have I done it, but I've done it in this style?
It hurts your knuckle, and you think, ouch, but you're glad you delivered it and you didn't receive it, let me tell you. And you look down at your opponent and you think, is he getting up? And then you realise, no, he's not getting up. And, you know, it's not like you all of a sudden want to start being horrible and start wanting to say all your talk, all your small talk, you know. You don't carry on that animosity, you're just being praised for the hard work you've put in. So as soon as that shot landed, I knew the fight was over, and it just felt like a massive weight had been lifted. And I'd never felt like that before in any fight because George Groves put that much pressure on me. And it was that horrible on the build-up. It was a fight that I so desperately needed to win. I would have had to get a one-way ticket to Australia if I'd have lost that fight. You'd have probably never seen me on these shores again because I'd have had to listen to him for the rest of my life. And there was so much pressure on that. And that's why when I landed that punch, it was just that feeling of, you know, relief rather than anything else.
Just a brief one on this. It's not just you, is it? I mean, you're a close-knit bunch. Whenever you go and watch one of your fights, your mum's there, your dad's there, your stepdad's there, your 2 brothers are there, all your friends are there as well. Rachel's there. The relief on their faces when they came running into the ring, and when they do it all the time. You're such a close-knit bunch. You're in there doing it for a lot of people all the time.
Definitely. I mean, I've got a small entourage. A lot of boxers go around with 20, 30 strong entourage, but I've got the people around me that has been there since day one. You know, you mentioned my mum, my stepdad Steve, my 2 brothers Lee and Wayne, obviously my coach, my promoters there, Eddie Hearn, and you know that's as far as it goes. My partner Rachel, she'll be sat in the crowd or sat at home if she's with the kids, but I'm just thinking about the job I've got to do. And you know, them people that have been there since day one, they're there now, and they're all feeling every punch with me. My mum especially. Sometimes I think somebody's fell off the balcony because I just hear this scream. And it's my mum screaming after I've took a shot. And I think, all right, my mum's there. But she swears to this day it's never her, but I know it's her. But it's nice to know she's there. And, you know, they're all feeling the punches with me. They really are, because they see the training and what I go through to get to that point.
Yeah. Let's move it on. We've got some more Twitter questions for the next round. So we'll do this as a bit of a quick fire round, get as many questions in as we possibly can, Carl. So this is the first one. Where did you find that finish from against Jermaine Taylor? It was incredible. You said earlier, 12 seconds from the end, was it, when you stopped?
Yeah, it was probably 14 seconds officially before the final bell would have gone. And if the bell would have gone, I'd have lost on points. Where did I find that finish from? You know, from something that you can't train, something you can't teach. It's from within, you know, that warrior instinct. And the word warrior is banded about too much in boxing. You know, that ability to just grit your teeth and carry on regardless, and just that determination until that final bell goes, to just keep working and keep trying to get what you want, you know. And if your opponent's there, still stood in front of you, that's not good enough. And the bell's about to go, you know. It's just an appreciation, really, for people who don't understand it, of fitness and an athlete. Because boxing, you know, you've got to be a superior athlete to go 12 rounds, 36 minutes, and in the dying seconds of the last round, it's that extra 1% or 0.5%, which might be that last 100 meters of a run that you've done for the last 12 weeks, where some people will stop or finish slow and think, I've done the 6 miles, where I'll go, you know what, I've got to finish strong. I can't breathe, my legs are about to collapse, I'm in pain, but I'm going to finish this last stretch of College Park as fast as I can. And then I'll collapse at the end, but I know I've done my work. And it's that little bit of determination and drive that you've only got yourself. You can only do that yourself. No one can drag it out of you. Somebody standing there screaming with a stop clock is not the same, because they're not there every morning with you. It's got to be from within. And I think that fight summed up my fitness and my determination and my grit and my commitment to the sport.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it takes to build a champion. We've got a text question as well, Carl. My favourite rounds of your career were the 12th against Taylor and the 3rd against Boutte. What's your favourite round? That's from Clint.
That's not a bad shout, actually, because the 12th round against Jermaine Taylor was a stoppage that I needed. I've never came so close to stealing victory from the jaws of defeat there. So that's one of them. And the 3rd round against Boutte, I mean, the Boutte fight is certainly one of my best fights and my best moments, but I think the best moment would have had to have been round 5 against Boutte, because that stoppage was unbelievable. And what followed was just, you know, out of this world. My promoter jumped in too early, nearly got me disqualified, jumped in the ring and celebrated. And it was just fantastic, that fight, because so many people thought that maybe this is the end for me and maybe I can't do it. It was in Nottingham, and, you know, I became a 3-time champion of the world.
I just wonder what your relationship would be like had you have been disqualified for Eddie jumping in the ring after you'd worked so hard to beat Lucien Boutte. I remember sitting there that night thinking, oh no, I hope the referee's not seen him, but you got away with it.
He managed to get in the ring, celebrate,
and get back out, yeah.
And by the time the referee had turned round, he was gone. So it was brilliant. It was like
he was the hide-and-seek champion of Essex as a youngster, and you could see why that night in Nottingham. We've got another text question which has come in. Which super middleweight from boxing history would you most like to have fought? That's from Chanel.
I think, and I've been asked this question before, so I can answer it fast, and it'd have to be Marvin Hagler. And I say him because he's the type of guy that stands in front of you and has a fight. And that might sound stupid, but the only way to beat me is to outbox me like Andre Ward did, and fiddle around and move around the ring and steal a decision. And that's exactly what Andre Ward did. It was a boring, horrible, frustrating fight. I went home after that fight and went back to my hotel in America, and I was so frustrated and so annoyed that, you know, I didn't feel like I'd been in a fight and I'd lost my world title. Somebody like Marvin Hagler, he stands in front of you and he has a fight. Don't get me wrong, he can box, he's got skills, he moves, but he's not sort of a stylistic type of fighter like a Sugar Ray Leonard or Roy Jones Jr., who I would not want to fight. But so, yeah, to answer the question, I think Marvin Hagler would have been an unbelievable humdinger for the pair of us.
Do you regret the fact that you didn't manage to get it on with Joe Calzaghe as well, because you were calling him out towards the end of his career, he didn't want to do it? Is that always one that you look at and think, what a night that could have been?
If I would have not gone on and achieved what I've achieved through him retiring and vacating his belt rather than fight me, i.e. Jean Pascal, and then Taylor, then the Super Six, then Boutte, then Kessler, rematch, then Groves twice. Had it not been for that, then yes, I would be bitter. But you know what? I'm quite glad that Joe Calzaghe never fought me, because he's not a bad lad. I would have knocked him out. Let's get it straight. As far as I'm concerned, I'd have won that fight. And that's a fight that didn't happen, and I don't look back on it with any regrets. I think Joe Calzaghe regrets not taking that fight a lot more than I do for many reasons.
Well, let's have another question, shall we? This one says, if you could be a world champion in any other sport, what would you choose?
That's a tough one, isn't
I heard you're a snooker fan.
Why didn't you prep me for this?
I didn't know till it came in.
I am a snooker fan.
Yeah.
I do love snooker, and I love all. I'm not going to say football because I love all one-on-one sports, mano a mano, and snooker's one of them. Golf, you're on your own, and darts even. People say darts isn't a sport, but I'm good mates with Phil Taylor. He's a fantastic darts player, and it is a sport, regardless of the shape some of the athletes are in. They can stand there. Yeah. They can stand there and throw darts.
You don't need Collick Park to be a darts player, that's for sure.
Oh, exactly. So I think you've hit a good one there, snooker. I'd like to be good enough at snooker to be a world champion, but I'll be honest, it's not going to happen.
Let's have the next question. This is coming via Twitter. What gave you the biggest pre-fight buzz before Butte in Nottingham or Groves at Wembley?
Butte in Nottingham. That fight, for me, honestly, Wembley Stadium, 80,000. For a start, 10,000 in Nottingham made more noise than 80,000 at Wembley Stadium, if that's possible. And I talk about how much was at stake for the Groves rematch, and if I'd have lost that, I'd have had to disappear from these shores. But the Butte fight was a fight where if I'd have lost that, I'd have been 2 back-to-back defeats, and I'd have thought, where do I go from here? That fight, it was nothing. There was no financial reward really for that fight. It was all about fighting, becoming a world champion again, and then my promoter Eddie Hearn doing a job with me to get me to the level where I can then showcase my talents in Britain on Sky Box Office and become what I've come now. Nobody's given me anything. I've had to fight for every step of the way. And the Butte fight was one of them where I took a gamble, I took a chance. I didn't have to fight him, this unbeaten Canadian, this monster that was knocking everybody out, and I'd just lost. So I could have had a couple of easy fights, eased into it, and then took a chance. I went straight in there at the deep end, and it didn't take much convincing. And, I'm reaping the benefits for that now. It's risk-reward, and that's the kind of man I am.
Absolutely. We've got one more question, I think, for this particular round, coming via text. What is your number one tip for anyone who wants to get into boxing, from Neil Hall?
Number one tip? There's so many things you need for boxing. But I think one of the most important things is you have to be an athlete, because it doesn't matter how good you are, how skillful you are, how talented you are. If talent doesn't work hard work will beat talent all the time, especially in boxing. So it's a simple tip, really. Just train hard. You just got to be dedicated, and you've got to work hard. And nothing's given to you. In most sports, but especially in boxing, you have to be fit and strong. And then you're going to find out if you can take a punch or if you've got the heart and soul for it later on in your career.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about today. We can see the pictures here. You've had a Nottingham tram named after you. People can now say they've got a lift home from Carl Froch on a Friday night, can't they?
It's unbelievable. I see a couple of trams going. I look at the name and I see Paul Smith on there, and I think, wow, man, I'm going to have a tram now floating around Nottingham with my name on it. It's surreal. I have to pinch myself. I like the way the camera woman had to have my name on the back of that post-it note there, by the way. I'm talking to Carl Froch in a minute, and the name's on the tram. But anyway, no, to have a tram named after me, what an unbelievable accolade. Not many are going to be able to quote that when they're walking around town on a Saturday night, are they? What are you looking for?
I was looking for the scroll. We were supposed to bring the scroll up with us, and I think either I've forgotten it or you have. I think it's on the corner of the ring.
Do you want it, dear?
Yeah, we're going to show everybody the scroll again. We'll have a little chat about that.
Thank you.
They did say to me, Carl, when you go on there, just remember to take the scroll. It's all you've got to remember, and I forgot, so I do apologise. Let's just have a look at that again, shall we?
We're going to read it.
When you look at that, you look at the words that are on there, which go back, I mean, we were chatting before this started tonight about just how far those words go back. I mean, when you get given something like that, that is so steeped in the history and tradition of the city that you live in. I mean, what does that mean?
You know, it's something that if someone says to you, you're going to become an honorary freeman of the city, and you think, well, okay, what does that mean? What does that entitle you to? And people crack jokes about walking your sheep over Trent Bridge. But what this, for me, you know, symbolises is an acknowledgement from my city. I was born and raised in Nottingham. I've defended my world title in this city so many times, and it's just an acknowledgement and an accolade for me to be told, you know what, you've done your city proud. You've defended your world title. You've put Nottingham on the map, not only nationally but internationally and across the Atlantic. So we want to acknowledge that, and we want to put you up with these names that have also done this for the city. And it's just an unbelievable, humbling and proud moment for me. That's what that means to me.
What will you do with it? I mean, are you a... Are you one for belts around the house and that kind of thing? Where are you going to put this? Because, I mean, you want everybody to see that, don't you?
I had a lot of trophies, and my mum tends to keep a lot of my trophies, and I've been given a couple of silly awards, and when I say silly awards, I mean Britain's Coolest Men by the Zoo magazine, and I mean the GQ Man of the Year award's pretty good one, it's pretty prestigious, but there's awards I've got and trophies everywhere, so I give them to my mum, and my mum loves them, she cherishes them, she keeps them. But she hasn't got my WBC belt or my IBF belt or my WBA world title belt. They're mine, they're in my case. And one of them couldn't even be here tonight because it's being polished up, but it's having something replaced on it where it's got damage. Because we take them into the ring on the night when we fight. They get passed around a bit. They get a bit of blood, sweat, and they get to. And my brother celebrates with it and shakes it about. So one of them's having a bit of work on it. But they're with me, and I'm having a display cabinet made for them in my house. I mean, I'm getting bits and bobs done in my house. It takes forever to get your house how you want it. And this scroll will be in with them world titles. And I'd be so proud to put that up there. It really will.
I always think that Lee, your brother's a bit like Jim Bowen on Bullseye, because he walks in before the fight with a belt. It's almost see what you could have won as he walks out with it after, when you've actually sorted the fella out in there. OK, we're going to ring the bell one more time, and then we're going to take a look at the future. So, we know what you've done. We know what's in the past. What's in the future? We read in the papers this week that could be Julio Cesar Chavez in Las Vegas, that you'd like to fight there. There's a bit of talk about James DeGale. Are we going to see you back in a boxing ring? And are we going to see you back in a ring soon?
It's not an easy question to answer because me, as myself, being who I am, and at 37 years old, I am an aging athlete, but I'm not 47. You know, there's still rounds left in this old warrior, if you want to say. And it's not the age of the car, but the miles on the clock. And I've had 35 fights. I've never been knocked out. I've never really been hurt. You know, I've had a couple of operations to sort my old joints out. But I've always been fortunate enough to get through my fights pretty much unscathed. You know, I've had a couple of superficial injuries. And, you know, if you look at Floyd Mayweather, for example, he's the same age as me, and he's had over 40 fights. He's getting on for 50 fights, and he's still doing it at top level. So there's no reason why I can't. The problem is now is, what am I going to do that's going to top Wembley, that's going to motivate me, that's going to make me say, you know what, it's worth putting myself through another camp, because I've achieved so much in my career, 4-time champion of the world, I've avenged that fight with Groves, and I've defended my other titles so many times. There's not much now that's going to get me motivated. And, you know, my promoter, Eddie Hearn, is very noble in the fact that he'll say, you know what, if we can't get you the right fight, I don't think you should fight, because I'd hate for you to go into the ring and be undermotivated and destroy your legacy. And it's very selfless of him to say that, because he could be looking on the financial side. He's got a business to run. He's got a job to do. And, you know, he said to me, look, if we can't get the right fight for you that you want that's going to motivate you, then maybe we do call it a day. And I'm not saying I'm hanging my gloves up, because I still want to fight, but it's got to be the right fight. And we've actually had a bit of news this week that Chavez's team, who you spoke about, Chavez Jr. in America, is now starting to sort of come around and talk and maybe want to start negotiations. It's still at the very early stages, because he's disappeared into the mountains of Mexico somewhere for the last 3 months. He's in a promotional dispute with his promoter, and
it's probably because you want to fight him.
He
thinks he won't find me here.
It's possible.
And we've got this question as well, which has come through on Twitter, just about you moving forward. Would you consider your legacy not fulfilled if you don't get the dream? And I don't think it's necessarily a legacy issue, because I think that's set fair.
Well, that's the thing there. He's touched on the Vegas fight and the legacy, because any other fight, really, is going to be downhill.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at the peak of a mountain fighting in front of 80,000 at the Wembley Stadium, and anything after that now in Britain is going to be almost going over the other side of that hill. And if I am going to finish boxing, I want to finish on the top. I've always said I don't want to be one of these fighters that loses and then you're chasing the win and then you may be hanging around the sport for wrong reasons like financial gain. I don't want to ever be in that position. You know, I've been successful. I've had my accolades. I'm 4-time champion of the world. I got rid of that grudge match, that kid from London, George Groves. I can say his name now without getting upset. I got rid of him. So now it needs to be something. And the reason we say Chavez is because Chavez is the only name really in the super-middleweight division that would get the American TV interested. He's a big name in America. I mean, you could say Andre Ward, you've got a loss to him. Do you want to avenge that defeat? Yes, I do want to avenge that defeat. But unfortunately, it makes no business sense. So that fight can't happen because boxing is a business. So the only fight really there for me at the minute is Chavez Jr., which seems a shame and seems a bit ridiculous, but Eddie's on the phone quite a lot working on that. We should have got him up here actually and put him on the spot, but we've got no news at the minute except for the fact that they are now talking.
Fantastic, thanks for your honesty. Final one then on today. When all's said and done, whether you fight again or not, the gloves are hung up, the belts are in the room, the kids are growing up, you're doing what you're doing in the next stage of your life. How are you going to look back on today and remember it?
On today?
Yeah.
Today will be a very, very proud moment for me, it really will. I mean, there's over, I thought there was 1,500 people, there's over 2,000 people here now, and they're here to just see me and listen to me waffle on. I hope I've not bored anyone. But I'm talking about something that's so passionate for me, boxing. I've done it since I was 10 years old, and it means so much to me. And I've dedicated my life, my heart and soul, and been so committed and sacrificed so much over the years. You know, friends have come and gone and got up to stuff that I don't want to get involved in, and I don't even go out and have a drink, and, you know, I could go on and on and on. But for me to be acknowledged by the city that I'm from, the city that I was born and raised in, and I'm going to bring my kids up, and I've got a vested interest in Nottingham as well. You know, I've spent a lot of my boxing earnings on investing in Nottingham, in properties, in the city that I love. Now, you know, I need this city to be good. I need this city to work, not just for me, but for my legacy and for everything to run. This is where I was born and raised. This is where I've had my achievements, my world title fights. I've got a vested interest in the city. And all my fans, everywhere I go, people see me and they look at me with so much respect. And kids want to come up and have a photograph with me. Can I shake your hand? Can I get a picture? Yeah, of course you can. Can I get a picture of my son? And, you know, they can't believe that I've got time to stop and chat with them. But anywhere else, that's not going to happen. And, you know, to receive the Honorary Freeman of the city, just to me, just symbolises everything in one scroll. It doesn't say it all, but in one scroll, in one tin that's going to go up there in my world title belts, I'll look back on that and say, you know what, that was the day that I was acknowledged by my city for being a legend. And that's my legacy intact with that right there. So thank you very much for that.
I'd just like to finish tonight, and I'm sure everybody would join me out there in saying that we're all extremely proud of you. You've done your city proud. You've put the city on the map. A lot of people would like to thank you for some fantastic nights that you've given them, whether they be here, in London, or abroad. You've done your family proud, and whatever you choose to do, we all wish you well in phase 2 of the life and the chapter of Carl Froch. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody here tonight, and the people watching all around the world, please acknowledge the Freeman of the City of Nottingham, the Cobra, Carl Froch.
Thanks, mate. Thanks a lot.
Well done, pal. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.